Hello, everyone. Before we dive deep into the world of jurisprudence, it's highly recommended that you have a pen and notebook ready to take necessary notes for your learning journey. Remember, if there's anything you don't quite grasp, feel free to pause the video, rewind, and watch or listen again. Now, take a deep breath, and here we go. Jurisprudence is much more than memorizing legal rules or statutes. It's the intellectual discipline that asks, what is law? And how does law relate to justice? At its core, jurisprudence is the philosophy or science of law seeking to uncover the underlying principles that shape legal systems. This field explores the very nature of law, its purpose, and its relationship to society. It's a journey into the foundations of legal thought, where we question not just what laws say, but why they exist and how they function. As we begin, let's set the stage for the thinkers who have shaped this fascinating discipline. One of the most influential figures in jurisprudence is John Austin, an English jurist from the 19th century. Austin's work laid the foundation for analytical positivism, a school of thought that radically redefined how we study law. He believed that to truly understand law, we must focus on its structure and concepts, not its moral or ethical content. Austin's ideas continue to shape legal philosophy today, especially his insistence on separating law as it is from law as it ought to be. Let's dive into his revolutionary approach and see how it changed the study of law forever. Austin's most groundbreaking assertion was that jurisprudence should focus solely on positive law, what he called laws, strictly so called. According to Austin, law is a command issued by a sovereign backed by a sanction for non-compliance. This definition is purely descriptive, deliberately ignoring whether the law is good or just. For Austin, the task of jurisprudence is to analyze the law as it is, not as it should be. By doing so, he aimed to create an objective, scientific study of law, free from subjective moral or religious judgments. This separation is the heart of legal positivism. A key part of Austin's theory is the strict separation between law as it is and law as it ought to be. He argued that jurisprudence should only analyze the actual rules laid down by human authorities, not whether those rules are fair or just. Questions about the goodness or fairness of a law belong to ethics or morality, not to the science of law. This approach allows legal scholars to objectively study the structure and function of laws without getting entangled in debates about their moral value. It's a clear, if controversial, boundary that shaped modern legal analysis. Let's make Austin's theory concrete with a simple example. Imagine a city law that requires drivers to stop at every intersection, even if there's no cross traffic. From Austin's perspective, jurisprudence simply records the rule drivers must stop at every intersection or face a 100 rupees fine. The legal scientist analyzes the command, the sovereign, the city legislature, and the sanction. The fine. Whether the law is efficient or fair isn't relevant to jurisprudence. Those are questions for ethics or policy, not for the science of law. This example shows how Austin's approach keeps legal analysis objective and focused. Building on his focus on positive law, Austin divided jurisprudence into two main branches: General Jurisprudence and Particular Jurisprudence. This division is based on the scope of the legal materials being studied. General Jurisprudence looks for universal principles common to all legal systems, while Particular Jurisprudence focuses on the laws of a specific country or community. This classification aimed to bring clarity and structure to the study of law, but as we'll see, it also sparked significant debate among later jurists. Particular jurisprudence, according to Austin, is the science of a specific legal system. It's confined to studying the laws of a particular country or community, such as Indian law, French law, or Roman law. The principles and rules analyzed are shaped by the unique details and history of that system. For example, if a scholar is examining the rules for forming a valid contract in India, they are engaging in particular jurisprudence. This branch is practical and concrete, focusing on the actual laws that govern real societies. To illustrate particular jurisprudence, consider how contract formation differs between India and Germany. In India, a valid contract requires consideration, something of value exchanged between parties. In Germany, however, the law focuses on the meeting of the minds and the intention to be legally bound without requiring consideration. Each scholar studies the specific rules and precedents of their country's system. This approach highlights how particular jurisprudence is rooted in the unique legal traditions and requirements of each society. General jurisprudence, or universal jurisprudence, seeks to identify the fundamental principles and concepts that are common to all mature legal systems. It's an abstract, scientific approach that looks for universal elements underlying different laws. The goal is to create a framework of concepts like rights, duties, and ownership that can be applied across various legal systems. General jurisprudence doesn't focus on the details of any one country's laws, but instead searches for the broadest generalizations that help us understand law as a whole. General jurisprudence abstracts the idea of a legal right. It analyzes the core elements found in every legal system: a subject who holds the right, an object who owes a duty, and the act or forbearance to which the right relates. This definition applies equally to rights over property, bodily integrity, or payment. The focus is on the concept itself, not on how different countries register or transfer rights. By stripping away local details, general jurisprudence helps us understand the universal structure of legal rights. Another example of general jurisprudence is the analysis of ownership. Across most legal systems, ownership typically includes the right to use an object, exclude others, dispose of it, and enjoy its fruits. These powers are common to nearly every sophisticated legal system, regardless of the specific rules about how property is registered or transferred. General jurisprudence focuses on these core ideas, avoiding debates about the technicalities of different countries' property laws. Austin made it clear that general and particular jurisprudence differ only in scope, not in essence. Both study positive law, but general jurisprudence looks for common principles across multiple systems, while particular jurisprudence focuses on the details of one. The distinction is about how broad the analysis is, not about the fundamental nature of the science. This subtle difference is important for understanding the debates that followed Austin's work. The concept of possession is a great way to see the difference between general and particular jurisprudence. General jurisprudence analyzes possession in the abstract, identifying two universal elements: corpus, physical control, and animus, intention to possess. This analysis applies everywhere. Particular jurisprudence, on the other hand, studies how possession is defined and protected in a specific system, like Roman law, including its unique remedies and distinctions. The general approach is broad and theoretical, while the particular is detailed and local. General jurisprudence distinguishes between civil wrongs, torts, and public wrongs, crimes, a distinction found in many legal systems. A crime is prosecuted by the state, while a civil wrong is resolved between individuals. Particular jurisprudence, however, examines the specific definitions and requirements of crimes in a given country, such as the UK's Theft Act 1968. This example shows how the general approach seeks universal categories, while the particular focuses on the unique details of each system. Austin's classification didn't go unchallenged. Sir John Salmond, a prominent jurist, argued that jurisprudence is one integral social science, not a collection of different kinds. He believed that while there are many schools of thought, there aren't different types of jurisprudence itself. The science is universal, only the subject matter changes. According to Salmond, terms like Hindu jurisprudence or Roman jurisprudence are misleading. We're always studying jurisprudence, just applied to different systems. To clarify his point, Salmond used the analogy of medical science. Austin's classification is like saying there's a general medical science and a particular medical science of India. Salmond countered that there's only one medical science. Doctors simply apply universal principles to different patients. Similarly, jurisprudence is a single science applied to different legal systems. This analogy helps us see why Salmond rejected Austin's division as artificial and unnecessary. Thomas Erskine Holland offered another influential critique. He argued that the particular study of a legal system isn't a separate science, it's just the material used by the universal science of jurisprudence. Holland compared this to geology. Principles developed from studying rocks in England apply everywhere, as long as the same fundamental forces are present. The geology of England isn't a separate science, just an application of geology to English rocks. Likewise, jurisprudence is universal, even if its examples come from one country. Holland's point can be seen in the law of negligence. The famous English case Donoghue v. Stevenson established the neighbor principle that a person owes a duty of care to those who might be affected by their actions. While this rule arose in English law, the principle itself is universal. Jurisprudence extracts this general concept and applies it to analyze any legal system. The science remains the same, even if the material comes from a particular country. The historical school of jurisprudence, led by thinkers like Maitland and Savigny, rejected Holland's analogy. They argued that law isn't like geology or chemistry, where universal principles apply everywhere. Instead, law is a unique cultural product, shaped by the history, spirit, and social needs of each nation. Law grows and evolves organically with society, making it impossible to extract truly universal principles without losing important local meaning. Maitland and Savigny emphasized that law is not a static, mechanical structure. Instead, it's a living, evolving product of a society's unique history and culture. Lord Bryce noted that every country's law reflects its economic and social conditions as well as its intellectual traditions. Buckland compared law to biology, not geology. Law grows and adapts with the people it serves. Savigny famously said that law is a reflection of the spirit of the people. Consider the law of land ownership. In a communal, tribal society, land may belong to the entire community, while in a capitalist society, land is private property. The core concept of ownership is fundamentally different in each system. Any attempt to extract a universal principle of ownership risks oversimplifying or misrepresenting these differences. This example shows why the historical school doubts the existence of truly universal legal concepts. Austin's classification also faced criticism for its ambiguities. Dias and Hughes pointed out that Austin never clearly defined what counts as an ampler and maturer legal system. This lack of clarity made it easy for him to select examples that fit his own views. Critics also questioned whether the common principles he identified were truly universal or just rational deductions based on limited data. These ambiguities weakened the credibility of his classification. Perhaps the most damaging criticism was that Austin himself didn't follow his own method. In his major work, The Province of Jurisprudence Determined, most of his analysis is based on English law, with only occasional references to Roman law. Despite claiming to study general principles, Austin's work was essentially particular or, at best, comparative. This gap between theory and practice raised doubts about the usefulness of his classification. Austin claimed to define the general principle of trust by examining all mature legal systems. In reality, his definition was based almost entirely on the English common law trust, a unique institution not found in many other legal systems. Civil law countries like France or Germany use different mechanisms for asset management. This example shows how Austin's general principles were often just generalizations from English law, not truly universal concepts. The debate over Austin's classification is more than academic. It goes to the heart of what law is. Austin and the positivists saw law as a universal science capable of objective study. Critics from the historical and sociological schools argued that law is a living, cultural phenomenon inseparable from its social context. Today, most scholars agree that jurisprudence is a single science that draws on different legal systems for its material. But they also recognize that legal principles are deeply influenced by local history and culture. Despite the criticisms, Austin's insistence that jurisprudence must focus on positive law had a profound impact. He established analytical positivism as a dominant force in legal philosophy, shaping how generations of scholars approach the study of law. His clear, scientific method encouraged legal thinkers to analyze laws objectively, laying the groundwork for modern legal analysis. Even those who disagree with his classification acknowledge the importance of his contribution. To recap, Austin divided jurisprudence into general and particular branches. General jurisprudence seeks universal principles common to all legal systems, while particular jurisprudence focuses on the laws of a specific country. This logical structure aimed to bring scientific clarity to legal studies, but it also sparked ongoing debates about the nature and scope of jurisprudence. Understanding this classification is key to grasping the evolution of legal philosophy. Critics like Salmond and Holland argued that jurisprudence is a single, universal science, not a collection of different kinds. They emphasized that the material studied may differ, but the science itself remains the same. The historical school added that law is a cultural product shaped by the unique history and needs of each society. These perspectives highlight the complexity and richness of legal philosophy. Today, the consensus among legal scholars is that jurisprudence is one science that uses different legal systems as its material. Universal concepts can be derived, but they are always influenced by the unique social context of each system. Austin's focus on positive law remains influential, but his strict classification is seen as too rigid for the complex, evolving nature of law. The debate he started continues to shape legal thought. Analytical positivism, championed by Austin, is the view that law should be studied as it is, not as it ought to be. This approach separates legal analysis from moral or ethical considerations, focusing on the structure, commands, and sanctions that make up positive law. Analytical positivism remains a cornerstone of legal philosophy, influencing how laws are interpreted and applied in many countries today. Positive law refers to the actual rules and commands laid down by human authorities. It's the law as it exists, enforced by a sovereign, and backed by sanctions. Austin's focus on positive law was revolutionary because it allowed legal scholars to study law objectively without getting bogged down in debates about what the law should be. This concept is central to understanding modern legal systems. In Austin's theory, law is a command issued by a sovereign and backed by a sanction. The sovereign is the authority with the power to make and enforce laws, while the sanction is the penalty for disobedience. This framework helps distinguish legal rules from other types of rules, such as moral or religious guidelines. Understanding the roles of sovereign and sanction is essential for analyzing how laws function in society. A central theme in Austin's work is the separation of law and morality. He insisted that jurisprudence should analyze the law as it is, without considering whether it is good or just. Moral questions belong to ethics, not to the science of law. This distinction allows for a more objective and systematic study of legal systems, though it remains a point of contention among philosophers. General Jurisprudence seeks to identify universal legal principles, concepts like rights, duties, and ownership that appear in many legal systems. These principles provide a framework for comparing and understanding different laws. However, as critics point out, these concepts are always influenced by the unique history and culture of each society, making true universality difficult to achieve. Both Salmond and Holland emphasize that different legal systems are simply the material used by the science of jurisprudence. The principles derived from one system can often be applied to others, as long as the fundamental characteristics are similar. This approach allows for comparative analysis and the development of broader legal theories, while still respecting the unique features of each system. The historical school's main contribution is the idea that law is a social product, shaped by the unique history, culture, and needs of each society. Law evolves organically, reflecting the values and experiences of the people it governs. This perspective challenges the idea that universal legal principles can be easily extracted from different systems, emphasizing the importance of local context. Comparative law is the study of differences and similarities between legal systems. It allows scholars to identify patterns, borrow ideas, and develop broader theories. While Austin's classification aimed for universality, comparative law recognizes the diversity of legal traditions and the value of studying them side by side. This approach enriches our understanding of how law functions in different societies. Law is not static, it evolves over time in response to changing social, economic, and political conditions. The historical school's focus on legal evolution highlights the importance of understanding law as a dynamic process. This perspective helps explain why legal systems differ and why attempts to create universal principles must be approached with caution. Jurisprudence is often described as the science of law. This means it seeks to analyze, systematize, and explain legal concepts and structures in a rational, objective way. Whether focusing on positive law, universal principles, or cultural context, the scientific approach remains central to the study of jurisprudence. This commitment to rational analysis is one of Austin's most enduring legacies. Jurisprudence studies social institutions like marriage, contract, and property from a legal perspective. These institutions are shaped by both universal principles and local traditions. Understanding how law interacts with social institutions is essential for grasping the broader role of law in society. This focus connects legal theory to everyday life and social organization. The relationship between law and justice is a central concern of jurisprudence. While Austin focused on law as it is, many philosophers argue that law should also strive for justice. This ongoing debate shapes how laws are made, interpreted, and reformed. Understanding the tension between law and justice is crucial for anyone interested in legal philosophy. Legal reasoning is the process by which judges, lawyers, and scholars interpret and apply laws. It involves analyzing statutes, precedents, and principles to resolve disputes and develop new rules. Austin's analytical approach emphasized clear, logical reasoning, while critics highlighted the importance of context and social values. Both perspectives continue to influence legal practice today. Interpreting the law is a complex task that requires balancing the literal meaning of texts with broader principles and social context. Austin's positivism favored a strict, literal approach, while others argue for more flexible, purposive methods. The debate over interpretation reflects deeper disagreements about the nature and purpose of law. Precedent, or the use of past judicial decisions to guide future cases, is a fundamental feature of many legal systems. Austin's focus on positive law included the analysis of how precedents shape legal rules. Understanding the role of precedent helps explain how law evolves and adapts over time, balancing stability with the need for change. The study of jurisprudence is an ongoing journey shaped by thinkers like Austin and his critics. While debates over classification and universality continue, the field remains vital for understanding how law works and why it matters. Whether you approach law as a science, a cultural product, or a tool for justice, jurisprudence offers insights that are essential for anyone interested in the foundations of legal thought. That's all for now. Thanks for watching the whole video. If you enjoyed it, please comment below. Jurisprudence with Austin is wow. In the comment section, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and do subscribe to the channel Knowledge Drops 3. Also, don't forget to click that notification bell so you'll know right away when I upload a new video.